Don't anybody say bad words. Okay. Okay. Sorry for the 2 minutes. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. This is one of them. In fact, I heard Carol here this morning talking about this topic, and she was involved with one, I think, a couple of months ago? Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit more, and I may ask you about your experience with this in addition to anybody else's experience with Sight Unseen, because I have some interesting things to share with you. I don't think this is going away anytime soon. So, and by the way, as we go through today, because we're handling people up here with Zoom, they can hear my microphone, but when you talk, I may end up repeating what you say so that people can hear the microphone with Zoom. So it's not that I have a problem hearing, it's just that they can't hear you. But these are one of the technical issues that Kamran and I are probably going to try to work at as we go through this. So my thing's not working. There we go. I may have to do this manually. James is here this morning with us, and I am going to turn my mic over to him so he can talk.
Hold it too close, right? That's fine. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to touch on the Ask the Underwriter webinar we're doing next Wednesday from 12:30 to 1:30. It's an opportunity for for everybody to come on, learn some stuff, from the underwriting manager for Town Bank and Homesale Mortgage. You can ask questions, things that you need some clarification on, or anything like that. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we kind of did a test run with the underwriter manager for appraisals, and it went really well. We got some good feedback on it. So, that's going to be next week. After the meeting, we're actually going to send out the invite to everybody. So, feel free to accept and jump on that. And then if you have any questions, that you want to get in line for the underwriting manager, just let Dan or myself know, and we can get those submitted and get your questions answered, and everybody can learn something. So we're hoping to do this a lot more, different topics and things, in the future. So hopefully you guys can attend, and it's that. Yep. Record it. Probably. We'll probably record it.
We may, yeah. So, we'll fill that question and send it out. Just to let everyone know. But all right, well, good morning, everyone, everywhere, here and there. First, thanks again to everyone for your continued support. Happy to be back here in person. Just wanted to talk a little bit about efficiency on our end as far as what we're dealing with as mortgage lenders, and obviously inside and outside with Homesale Mortgage and other lenders on the outside as well. Obviously our goal with Homesale is always efficiency, trying to make sure your file gets through the process and to closing. We are doing everything we can to get packages to the title company 3 days before settlement. That generally does happen. I know that's a challenge for us, as well as, other lenders sometimes aren't even getting packages there on, in time for settlement. Obviously, when there's different programs as far as PHFA or USDA, that adds to the processing time as well. But, one of the biggest things that really drives the process with efficiency are the contract and commitment dates. So there's some, general rules to follow that, as long as I've been doing this, that we've tried to look at for, ideal commitment dates, in regards to when a contract is written. So, there's this rule of 14 that's always a good recommendation. So the commitment date should not be any sooner than 14 days from the offer acceptance date. So again, that's just a good rule to follow as far as that. And then on the flip side of that, the commitment date should not be, let me get my wording right here properly. It shouldn't be any less than 14 days before the closing date. So in other words, you want to allow at least a 14-day window from the commitment date to the closing date as well. So, really when you look at a 30-day close in the grand scheme of things, you're right within that margin of the two rules of 14 when it comes to that. Now, when you add something like PHFA or USDA into the mix, in some cases, you probably want to add an extra, 10 to 15 days from commitment date to closing, because in certain situations, we've had USDA be on a 10, even 15-day turn time. Most recently, PHFA was on a 14-day turn time as well. And the file needs to go to both of those entities after we're done with it. So, ideally, these are just, good rules to follow to create efficiency, to number one, make sure that the file gets to closing on time and that there are no delays. Now, there's always exceptions, certain circumstances where things need to be done quicker. And obviously, if that is the case, definitely talk to us and we'll do everything we can to make sure something happens as quickly as it can. And we have closed files in 15, 20 days if need be. Obviously, that's conventional, not throwing in PHFA and USDA into that. But ultimately, our goal is always to make things as efficient as possible. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Again, both James and I thank you for your continued support. Sherry.
So let me just come over here for a second. Sherry has joined us in Homesale Settlement, and when did you actually join us? Here.
Probably about a month or two ago. Probably about a month or two ago.
So anyway, I thought on a previous Zoom call, I did introduce her, but I wanted to make sure that you saw her live in person. She actually sits up next to James upstairs on the second floor. And you'll notice that I changed her name on the screen here from Sherry Fisher to Sherry Kelly. Congratulations to Sherry. She got married over the last in April. So she's a newlywed. Congratulations, Sherry. But anything else you want to say?
You pretty much stole my limelight. But no, I did just want to say I may have worked with some of you in the past and you knew me as Sherry Fisher and now it's Sherry Kelly. I have been with Homesale Settlement Services for over 5 years and I've been in this business really since the 80s. So I'm looking forward to working with those of you that I have not worked with before. I'm so happy to be down here. I love this office. But I also wanted to introduce our processor to you. You probably get emails from Alexis Mall, and you may not know who she is. She used to be the admin at Centerville, and she has now joined us in the title department, and she is a godsend. She is so efficient and wonderful. So if you do get emails from her asking for social security numbers or things like that, it's all legitimate. That is her. So, and then again, yeah, I'm upstairs. So if you ever have any questions or anything for me, I'm here to help you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Good morning, everybody. Just like to give you a quick overview of how I go about my daily job, basically. So, I get the lead from you guys. I go take a look at the house. I review all the home photos as well, too. And then if it's in Lancaster County, I typically go on to the tax record because I input all this information into the next slide, basically. Oh, you got it. Okay. So I take a look at the tax record, and as you can see here, I detail everything into this. This is called the MSB cost estimator, and you just look at all that information that's on there. We got the garages, the porches, bathrooms, and on the previous screen is where I input all the square footage and all that information. Basically, to get the reconstruction cost, and you can go on to the next slide. and it generates a report right there on the left. And then I enter all the details into our quoting system basically. And that's where, you know, things like the dogs, the wood burning stoves, pools, all that other information I input in there. And then it just spits out all those prices there and I compare it. So that's just a brief overview of what I do there. So other than that, I'm good.
James has been working out of his home during the entire pandemic. So I think as time goes on, you're going to continue to do that. Is that correct? Or it's going to be maybe a hybrid back and forth? Okay. So yeah, his office is up close to mine. It's kind of like right across the hall from mine in case you don't know where James sits because he hasn't been there in a year and a half, basically. Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of this. I'm giving you a heads up now so you don't get to December 15th and say, oh gosh, we got to take this course again. Yes, you do. NAR has their Code of Ethics course, and the current cycle is from January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2021, which is at the end of this year. So I wanted to get this on your radar screen now so that you understand that it's going to need to be done. I know Elcar with her real estate school is going to have this, I believe, live classes. I think you can actually go onto NAR's website and you can take an online NAR Code of Ethics course that will fulfill this requirement also. But once again, I just wanted to get it on your radar screen so that you're aware that it's coming up probably faster than you think it will, okay? In addition, we talked about this, I think at our previous meeting where I reviewed with you the seller's property disclosure and all the changes that are coming up with the seller's property disclosure. You can go back to one of our previous meetings and see what those changes are. I had actually emailed out a red line version so you can see what what differences are from the old form to the new form. There are some things there that you're going to need to be aware of. They have added some sections. They've moved some things around. I'm not going to spend the time to do that here because we did it previously, but that is going to go live on July 1st. Kelly Miller, who does all our back-end stuff in dotloop, she's been alerted to this and she's ready to go. So I don't know whether it's going to be there July 1st or, you know, it'll be there very close to that date because she's got to get a lot of these input fields in there. I am going to get questions, I know. If it's not in there on July 1st, is it okay to use the old form? Yes, it's okay to use the old form. The old form covers the vast majority of the stuff. This just clarifies more things. This is going to have two of the major sections on here. It's going to deal with pools and spas. There's a whole section on that now, which really wasn't, it was kind of glossed over in the previous version. And there's also a section on solar panels, which is always a hot topic when it comes to selling a house. So I wanted to make you aware of that. The second thing is an appraisal contingency may be released on July 1st. Now, let me give you the background on this. With all of you and what you're experiencing right now, we're all getting these funky clauses in our agreements of sale, and everybody's got one that has their own appraisal clause that says, we'll pay up to this, but not above this, and if it goes down here, and it's all over the place. Well, PAR understood that this is a problem in the marketplace and is trying to standardize everything for everybody. So they put one together. I've seen it. I actually saw it first thing this morning. And if you were on PAR just listed, it was put there this morning. Now, I was shocked that it was there this morning because PAR and the Standard Forms Committee has been looking at this for a while. I knew they were going to change it. We have a couple people on Elcar's board of directors where I serve that are also on that committee, and they said it was mass confusion amongst the people that actually created the form and how it was worded. So Hank Lerner was there, who is PAR's in-house attorney, and Hank Lerner essentially said to the group, guys, I don't think we're ready for prime time here. and they chose to ignore it. So it's coming out on July 1st. I've just literally seen the red line version this morning. So I'm going to do a deeper dive into that prior to July 1st when it does hit, your .loop accounts. I'll probably, it's going to be too late at the next meeting. I'll probably put out a 5 or 10-minute video just highlighting what the changes and what the differences are and how to utilize it and where the confusion hopefully doesn't lie. So I wanted to make you aware that's coming up also on July 1st.
Hello and welcome to Ninja Selling. My name is Larry Kendall, and we started the Ninja Selling system in our real estate company in Colorado, where we were recognized by the National Association of Realtors as the most productive real estate company in the United States in terms of transactions per associate and dollar volume per associate. And people ask us, how did we get that kind of results? And so we said, well, we can show you and we can teach you. And that's what led to us creating and teaching the Ninja Selling system. That was the system we were using in our company. I'm often asked, well, how did you come up with that name, Ninja Selling? It's named after one of our associates who had the highest income per hour of anybody I'd ever worked with. He had amazing customer satisfaction, amazing referrals. He was married, he had 2 little boys. He taught handicap skiing in the winter. He was a professional bike racer in the summer. He had high income per hour and he had a life. And we decided, that's the goal of Ninja Selling, is to help you increase your income per hour so that you can have a life. And our approach to doing that is 4 principles. First of all, we say that Ninja is a user-friendly selling system. It's very soft, it's very easy. And if you follow the system, you'll be very successful. And at the same time, you'll never put yourself in the position of being rejected. We call it a system because it will work for you regardless of your personality and regardless of the market that you're in. If you work the system will work for you. It's built around 4 principles. Principle number 1 is personal mastery. How you run your mindset, how you manage your emotional energy, how you manage your vibe that your clients pick up. We'll show you the science behind really how to build a great mindset and how to achieve personal mastery. Number 2 principle is to stop selling. People love to buy, but they hate to be sold. So stop selling. Principle number 3 is our business strategy, which is built around building relationships. Working with people who know you, like you, and trust you. We'll show you a way to build a continuous flow of buyers and sellers coming to you. And then finally, number 4 is to be customer-centric. Understanding how to read the customer, how to read their personality, their decision strategies, their learning modalities, and how to help them achieve what they're trying to accomplish in their life. How can you help them go from the life they have to the life they dream about? We hope you'll join us on the Ninja Path. Thank you.
So the company has partnered with Ninja Selling. I think we gave you a brief overview of what the Ninja Selling way was. We had, I think her name was Chandra Hall, did a fabulous job of kind of introducing the course to you. This is going to be coming up on August 23rd through 26th. It's an entire week. It's going to be held at Heritage Hills Golf and Resort, which is in York. It basically goes from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. every day. So it's a solid week. We have booked some rooms there in case people want to stay overnight, but York's not that far away. The cost of this, the regular cost is $750. The registration discount is $699. That is through June 28th. And if you see the yellow sunburst there, we will reimburse you as the company. We will reimburse you $100 per transactions for the first 4 transactions after you complete the Ninja Selling course. So the cost of it to you at the end of the day is very, very reasonable. So I just thought I'd mention this today. I know I've talked about it previously. It's been introduced to you within our company. We've had 4 total sessions, each about an hour long. And I sat through each one. There was some really, really good stuff in it. So I would highly encourage you to consider this. Now, before I go on to the next thing, Colleen is on our call, and I actually forgot to say this. There's a lot of people in this room right here, and hopefully Colleen can hear me. Can you hear me, Colleen?
I can.
Okay, thank you. We had some technical difficulty early on. Colleen got today all of our Berkshire Hathaway shirts, which you see proudly displayed up here. These were available at our event that was held here in the parking lot, where everybody gave their name and what size they were. And Colleen, do you want to kind of explain to people how they're going to be distributed and what our modus operandi is?
So good morning, everybody. I have all of the shirts on the couch outside of my office, which for those of you who don't know, my office is Jen's old office next to Marion. I have a checklist here of everybody who ordered one. I have them all set out. So after the meeting, stop over and see me. I will give you your shirt. After that, I will probably leave them with Gail and she can distribute them. And if you don't get here till next week, then Marion.
So Colleen, one thing I know it's going to come up, if I wasn't at the event and didn't order a shirt, can I still get one?
We would have to place another order, like a round 2. I know that we had kind of put the email out there quite a bit. So we ordered for what people had placed, and then maybe we'll do a round 2 and have a second order come in down the road.
Okay. All right. So once again, see Colleen after the meeting. She's actually stationed in her office right now. She got her second vaccine shot, and she's still going through that period of time when she can't, she's considered not vaccinated. So thank you, Colleen. And
Sure.
by the way, she's the one that did this whole thing. She found the vendor that she used in the past, came up with a great price for us. So hopefully everybody can sport their black and white shirts. Bright has some map enhancements that are coming up. I just thought I'd give you some of the bullet points on some of the things that are happening within Bright. These are coming up, I believe, within the next couple of days. And in the next slide here, I'm going to share with you, there's actually a brief half-hour webinar that you can get on where they'll do a deep dive into this, and we'll show you what some of the enhancements are going to be. The first main one is that the search map itself, it will actually fill your browser screen. So you're not going to have to, if you have eyes that look like me, and I see, hold up those glasses, there they go. If you have eyes like me, sometimes it's difficult to see some of those things. So it's going to be full browser. You're going to be able to do or perform a drive time search based on the day of the week, which some people, that is a hot button for. You're going to be able to search by intersection, where if you have multiple different layers, you'll be able to see where they intersect. And that's kind of like your bullseye or home run for the search that you're trying to perform. You're going to be able to zoom in on various layers, and the icons itself to set this up are going to look a little different too. They're going to be a lot more help screens for you in case you're not as familiar with this as what you will be hopefully at some point in the future. This is Wednesday the 16th, which is actually right this afternoon from 1 to 1:30. If you log into Bright, at the very top of the screen, there will be that blue box that you see right there. They're holding it on the 16th, which is today, and next Wednesday, the 23rd. I believe it goes live either, I forgot what it's, the 17th or the 22nd. It's one day either way. So you're going to notice a change to the how you search map-wise in Bright. Lancaster County market stats. Now I'm going to put out the stat sheets to everybody, which I usually do on a monthly basis, and you'll get them via the email that I send out. But I wanted to make you aware, which I've been saying for the last 2 to 3 months, be very careful when you're looking at these stats now because of what occurred. We're kind of at the tail end right now. What occurred last year. As you are well aware, March, everything just stopped and came to a screeching halt. So a lot of the stats that you read on these sheets, when they compare year over year, some of the numbers are just off the charts because of the differentiation between what was going on in 2020 and what's going on today. So be very, very careful. I said use caution when you're throwing some of this stuff around. I am going to highlight a couple of different things, though, that really have nothing to do with the pandemic that you ought to be aware of as a practitioner who's talking with buyers and sellers out here. So here's the first one. The average sold price from last year to this year jumped almost 22%. That is just mind-boggling. So it went from 244 to 297. Now, I say it's mind-boggling, you say it's mind-boggling, but we've been living it. I mean, we've actually experienced this where I was talking with an agent yesterday, 2 days ago in this office, listed a property, I'm going like 450, maybe it was 425, received an offer $100,000 over list price, $100,000. And the agent's sitting in front of me in the chair and going, I don't know what to do. They're talking with the seller and they say, is there anything I should be aware of? And I said, well, let me see the offer. No appraisal contingency, no inspections, no nothing. So it's happening all around us. The median sold price, median is, the exact middle instead of average sale price, has jumped 14%, which is still a big, huge number. Average days on the market, this is average, not median. Average days in the market is 14 days right now. And I'll talk a little bit about that on another number that's coming up here. Average sale price to original list price is 103.5. So you're out there listing homes and everybody is bidding over top of your list price. I think it was either last month or the month before when I was tracking this stuff, it actually went over 100% for the first time ever. And now it's even more, which is now 103.5. So once again, big numbers. 26% of the properties sold for cash. 26% of the properties sold for cash last month. And 74% of the properties sold in 10 days or less. So this is a really, really fast moving market. You guys know that because you're in it every single day. And I hear kind of anecdotally from you, you come into my office and you bring your crying towel with you and and you say, I've just experienced this and I've never seen this before. So it is out there. I just thought I'd share some of this stuff. These numbers here don't have really anything to do with the pandemic because of what was happening last year versus this year. This is just the state of where the market is right now. And I saw this just came out from Gallup. Gallup does this every single year where they take 5 investments, and you see them there, bonds, savings accounts, gold, stocks, and real estate. And they say, you as an owner, or you as somebody who invests and you have all these assets, what is important to you and what do you think is the best asset to be involved with right now? Right now, real estate is at 41%. So even though this market is really fast moving, people really are on the real estate bandwagon, okay, versus other forms of investments or assets. And this is a quote that Gallup put out with that information. It says 41% choosing real estate is the highest ranking asset of any of the 5 investment options in the 11 years Gallup has asked this question. So no other investment option has gotten this high over that period of time. Well, how does it stack up over time? So from 2011 to 2021, going left to right here, you see how, savings account and gold and stocks, how they have fared. And remember what we were back in 2011, for those of you that were in the business at that time, we were just coming out of the recession. So, it was still a little difficult to talk to people about real estate because they're like, are we really out of this yet? Look where it was and look where it is now. So it has really, really increased over time. So we're in a great business. I know we're in a great business, and the public thinks we're in a great business too. So the other thing that I've heard, and I've shared with you on a couple different occasions, and I continually read, especially in the national media, not necessarily business news, but national media, people saying this bubble is going to burst and we're all going to be back in 2006, 2007 again. I keep reading some of this stuff and I'm like, it is not the same what occurred back then, okay? Here are some things to even back this up. Almost 32% of residential properties with a mortgage were equity rich, which means more than 50% equity in the property. And think about that. If I have a property right now, I own a property right now, let's say I get in with a 5% loan to value, or excuse me, 95% loan to value loan. And 4 months from now, I lose my job and things are really tough for me. What has happened to the sale price of my home in 4 months? It's gone up. So I actually have more equity in it. Most people, and by the way, how fast are these properties moving? 14 days or less, 10 days or less. So if somebody is really in financial trouble, foreclosure is not going to be the option they're going to go. They're going to contact us and they're going to say, hey, I'm in trouble. Got to sell this thing quickly. You get it on the market. You get 17 offers in 2 days and it's sold. I don't think we're going to have a foreclosure problem, but I keep reading people saying the foreclosure's coming, this bubble's going to burst. I just don't see it. The other number, 38% of all homes are now owned free and clear. 38%. They're not going to foreclosure anytime soon, okay? Numbers today are totally different than what they were in 2006. Just keep that in mind because you're going to hear it from your people that you're working with also. Here's forecasts of where home prices are going in 2021 now that we're almost halfway through. You see from a high of 10.3 to a low of 6.6. So we're going to experience some healthy appreciation over the next 6 months to a year, which is going to be really good for us. The average, by the way, is 8.2%. So for those of you that have gotten on my YouTube channel, I do put out to the general marketplace some thoughts about things that are happening in the marketplace. And one of them that I just put out within the last day or two has to do with online leads. And online leads have been around for a long time. When I say a long time, probably 10 years. And I read a lot of stuff on this. The company, I just was in an all-day seminar yesterday. The company, I think most of you know at this point in time, company is choosing to move away from Realtor.com. We're not renewing the contract come, I think it's July 1st, for a very good reason. The contract price jumped almost 50% that we would pay. We would have paid almost, I kid you not, almost $1 million in our contract for Realtor.com leads in 1 year. We said, no, this is not worth it. We're going to go in another direction. There's more and more people, not only brokerages, but agents around the country that are coming up with the same conclusion. And what I did is I put together this 5-6 minute video that explains my thought on where I think, I explain a different business that ran into some tough times just recently. And the reason why they ran into tough times is because they weren't prepared and they were paying somebody else to do something for them, such as buy leads.
Hi everyone, welcome to 5 Good Minutes. I'm Tom Blefko. If you're buying leads as your main lead generation strategy, you're going to be in for a rude awakening in the very near future. Now, in my opinion, this has been coming for quite some time, and to be frank, I'm not sure why it took this long. I see agents, teams, and brokerages all built on buying third-party leads, and while it may have been successful in the past, multiple forces are converging together right now that are going to change the landscape of how we think about this lead source. And before I get into that, let's look at the evolution of how we started buying leads in the first place. Agents that worked online leads 5 to 10 years ago discovered something really fast. The quicker you responded to the lead, the more likely the lead would pan out. These leads wanted answers quickly before they jumped to another website. And agents who worked those leads understood that the lead was further up the lead funnel. Sometimes they were up 1 to 2 years before they ever even sold or purchased anything. But recently, the percentage of closing on these leads has shrunk even more. Internet buyers are becoming even more demanding since the pandemic. And that's because the whole world is moving to the delivery at the speed of light. I'm going to compare and contrast what's happened in our business to another profession, restaurant owners. Now, restaurant owners are independent contractors who work long hours. Sound familiar? When the pandemic hit over a year ago, all restaurants shut down initially, but then were allowed to gradually reopen with certain precautions put in place by the government. But what happened to their local, loyal customers? They migrated to companies that delivered the food, and 4 companies dominate this sector. Grubhub, everybody's heard of them, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Postmates. Most local restaurants were caught totally unprepared when the pandemic hit because they didn't have a delivery strategy at all, and it was hard to set one up. So as a result, they allowed customers to order through these delivery apps, and the restaurant owners would pay the fees. In most cases, wait for it, 20 to 40%. Does this sound familiar? You know, restaurants actually lose money fulfilling orders, but they did it because they were totally unprepared. I think we have all seen restaurants fold up their tents during this pandemic, but the ones that are going to come out the other side of this will be more self-reliant on generating business for themselves and innovative in delivering it instead of relying on third-party delivery services. So if you allow a third-party vendor to dictate your future, you will always be on the proverbial hamster wheel, because as far as I know, the fees for these leads have never, ever gone down. 10 years ago, 99% of referral fees that were paid by agents was about 25%. Today, try to find a third-party vendor that doesn't charge 30 to 42% or wants you to pay a monthly fee up front. What do you think this fee structure is going to be like in another 5 years? So here's my advice. Create your own brand and do it now. I got to tell you, it's hard. In fact, most agents won't do it because it is hard. They will continue to buy leads because it's easier to write out a check or pay by credit card because it takes only 1 minute versus creating a brand that takes every waking hour of your business day. But in the long run, those that create a vivid, long-lasting brand are going to be left standing in this business. Now, you may still want this source of leads after all. You want leads coming in from a variety of sources. However, at what price? You need to become more active in your communities. You need to own them, because if you don't, Zillow will. In addition, you need to invest the money that you were spending on internet leads into your own platforms and lead generation. Now, after all, you can control this. If you were with Zillow over the past 3 years, how many times has their strategy changed? Think about that. You should all have a database that you touch a minimum of once a month, preferably twice a month, with real estate info to help them understand and utilize their real estate. Tell them what the market is like. Provide statistics so they're aware of the market. Provide tips on how to take care of their home. And the list goes on and on and on. You need to come off as the local expert. Now, the biggest reason to pull money out of this lead source now is because of something called certainty. That's right, certainty. As I stated a minute ago, lead vendors have changed their respective strategies a dozen times over the last 5 years. Understand that your sphere is a source of leads right now and will only grow as time goes on. Investing in them now will pay huge dividends in the future. So if your main or dominant lead generation strategy is to buy leads from third-party companies and not generating them on your own, welcome to the hamster wheel. Burnout is going to be in your very near future. All the best.
So I truly believe this. These are going to get more and more expensive as time goes on. And if you are sinking tons of money into this, you're going to have some issues. And don't get caught with your pants down, so to speak. Now I'm going to go back to Carol, and she talked at the beginning of this meeting. She was lucky enough to get here, and I overheard what she said. And I know she was involved with a sight unseen offer. Just real quick, either on the listing side or on the buy side, how many people in this room were involved, or at least potentially could have been involved, it may not have been approved, with a sight unseen offer? Just look around the room. It was over 50% of the people in this room. I don't know what it was on Zoom. Thank you. Diane, I see you. Thank you. So I don't think this is going to go away. I really don't. Now it's going to be tampered down a little bit because the pandemic just accelerated this whole thing. Okay. So I saw these two things just recently. Redfin, who is a national real estate company. They're not in Lancaster County yet. Not sure they're going to get here anytime soon, but who knows? Redfin did a study and asked people in December of 2020. Now, this is a key date. Go back in time to December of 2020. We were still kind of, everybody's walking around with a face mask on and, you know, washing down their hands 10, 15 times an hour. They asked, forget how much it was, 1,900 people in 32 markets. And by the way, 32 markets, these were big markets. You know, Philadelphia is the New Yorks of the world. So this wasn't conservative Lancaster. So these were in markets outside of Lancaster. Did you at any point in your home search process make an offer on a home you hadn't seen in person? And 63% said yes. 63%. Okay. This is their scale chart from 2015 to 2020, and look how it's jumped. And look how, and obviously this was accentuated by the pandemic because people had to do something, but I think people are getting used to it now too. Now, about 3 or 4 sales meetings ago, I couldn't remember when it was, I actually spent about 15 minutes on things. If you're going to get involved with a sight unseen offer, what you ought to be aware. What are some additional precautions you ought to put in place with these things? If you want to, please go back a couple of sales meetings. You can see that. I'm not going to cover them here, but I'm hearing from people now that we're getting through the pandemic. We're meeting in person. This is great. I love it. And all this stuff is going to go by the wayside. I don't think it's going to go by the wayside. It's here to stay. It's just how we handle it. Homes.com. This just occurred in May 2021. Asked 1,500 visitors that were interested in buying a home, that were visiting a home. Are you willing to buy a home sight unseen? This was their number. Now, 63% and 42%, that's a big gap, a huge gap. But just think about that. Even if we take the low one here, 40% of the people out there are willing to move forward with sight unseen. So if you're not comfortable with it, I would say get comfortable pretty quickly, because you're going to run into people that actually want to do this. Now, I am going to, because I had a number of people say that they actually had experienced, who actually had a sight unseen offer accepted. Okay. So of the people that would like to talk, and I'm going to stick a microphone in your face. Now everybody just, hands go down. what did you do? What did you say to your client to actually, or did your client suggest it to you to do a sight unseen offer, or did you suggest it to them? And what dialogue did you use? Anybody want to? Okay. So what did you say to your seller?
The first thing I said is I've never experienced this, so I'm really not sure what to do. So I called Tom, and luckily Tom said, "Well, the problem is, I mean, things go into escrow. It'd be a while to look at the money back out. So we countered with accept the sight unseen offer, but we're asking for the 20,000 good faith money to be given directly to the seller and not to our escrow account." Now, interestingly enough, these people were buying a house down near Swarthmore and told their agent what they did, and he said that's illegal. It's like, oh, I love when other agents get involved in my deals. So back to Tom, and he checked with our legal department, and they weighed in that yes, it was legal. I actually called the hotline and talked to an attorney, and she said it's absolutely legal because it'd be the same as a for sale by owner. They would take the deposit if they were selling it, and just because an agent's involved, a realtor agent is involved, doesn't change any of the laws. So it was absolutely legal. Now, what I think is missing, and we talked about this, is the language that should be in that contract that would create I guess, a backstop in case the deal does not go through. We didn't have that, and they wanted the house obviously badly, but that's something I think we need to do.
Who's dealing with it? Sit in your lap, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, so actually my buyer suggested it to me that he wanted to put an offer in because he was in panic mode and we lost 2 other ones in the neighborhood. And I talked with Tom and I was like, can we do this? And he's like, yeah, you can put an offer in on it coming soon. So we wrote the offer. The agent was kind enough to run and present it that night. And the seller took it and she canceled all the other showings and when it was to go live and had people screaming at her, but it worked out great. We overbid and gave a clean offer. And
in your case, and you don't have to mention the agent's name, I think it's important.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that if you're working with a really good agent on the other side, in this particular case, Carol was, because I know who it was, it goes a long way because you may obviously run into some bumps in the road during the course of the transaction. I mean, are these things free and clear of all liability? Absolutely not. They're not, but it's becoming more prevalent. And I think you ought to come up with the dialogue to talk with buyers and sellers so that, it doesn't look like, gosh, I've never, like Brian said, and it was true in Brian's case, he said, I've never seen this before. Yeah, Chris.
Carol, did your buyer do any kind of contingency on seeing the property? No. So he did it basically from the pictures and.
Yeah, he was in panic mode because he.
Carol, one second. I just want to repeat what Chris said. Chris's question was, did they have any other contingencies in the agreement, like going back to see the property at a later time? Go ahead, Carol.
No, we didn't. He was in panic mode because he was heading to Texas and we ended up just going on the pictures. And all we had in it was a mortgage contingency, but it was a small mortgage amount. And then when he came back from Texas, I reached out to the realtor and I said, hey, can we go walk through the house? And he liked it better than the pictures.
Which is a good thing. Carol was sweating bullets. So it happens. And we all have our own stories, and I know everybody probably has their own story. I just wanted to get one from like a seller and a buyer side here. If you have never been through this before, like Brian said, and Carol has said, I'm hearing it all the time from our agents. So I've heard it a number of times. If you're uncomfortable with it, come and talk to me and I'll walk you through some of the processes and what you need to do to be, to lessen the liability as much as possible. So, okay. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Of course, let's start with racket number 1. 5 reasons buying sight unseen isn't as risky as you think. Nicole, Homes.com conducted a survey of 1,500 visitors that discovered 42% of buyers are willing to buy a home sight unseen.
Yep.
Makes sense in this market.
Absolutely.
Here's why that number shouldn't surprise you. And they've got 5 reasons why it shouldn't surprise you, why maybe buying a home sight unseen is okay. All right. So number 1, we'll go through all 5 and give our opinion.
Let's do it.
Tour technology is a reason that you should buy sight unseen. One of the ones that they've identified here. Today, buyers expect to see a virtual tour, if not at least a listing video. Imagining technology can now edit exterior washouts to provide online tours, participants with full views of fenced backyards and curb appeal, but all finalizing the immersive experience. Is this a reason that sight unseen is
it good?
Is not
risky.
Scary.
So
yeah.
I still think that so where I would go a little bit deeper with this tour technology is I think that I've had a lot more success if I'm actually FaceTiming with them and going through, because at that point you can show out, some of the flaws. Right?
If you're there, you're right. You can show. I actually think if you're going to do tours virtually and you're definitely going to buy sight unseen, you have to do that with your trusted, advisor like you're talking about. But you also have to have the Matterport to go through. Of course. Because the FaceTime, you can I can go based off of your, hey, she pointed out that crack in the wall. She pointed out the leaky faucet. But I also don't get a true feel for the space on FaceTime.
You definitely need to be well versed, like you're saying, with a Matterport before your agent even goes out to the property for sure. Yeah. But I do think it's crucial though for the agent to go out there and do a FaceTime tour.
Correct.
You don't but look at the crown molding, or just again, I think that is much more, I won't say much more important, but certainly is important to be coupled with the Matterport.
From fully orchestrated group open houses, we know that those are a racket, to an agent FaceTiming through a listing. It's easier than ever for buyers to get.
Yes.
But to me, a group open house or just FaceTiming is not enough for a sight unseen offer. I need a Matterport and a FaceTime. And those two things combined can maybe get me there if I know the area.
I think I think if you're comparing it to none of that, which was very much
true, but
just years ago.
But to me, I got to have both. I got to know the area. I've got to have been to the area before as well.
Well, okay. So, and I think it depends on who you're talking about too. Are you the seller or are you the buyer?
If I'm the buyer.
Right. But my concern here still though, is if you're not doing all that and I'm the listing agent, I'm still really worried about that buyer.
Yeah. Me too.
So here's the reason why I show you this. These are 2 really, really good agents, and listen to them. They can't even figure this out. They're trying to say, I'll do this, but I'm not going to do this. I'll do this. We're all trying to figure this out together. By the way, if you've never seen this, they have a weekly show. It's called, I went past it there. It's called The Real Word. They're 2 agents from up in New England, and they spend about 20-25 minutes talking about current real estate issues from an agent's perspective. And I like listening to them because they bring, I think, a very unique perspective to the table, and they're very, very good. They have a large team in New England, so it's pretty good on a weekly basis. This was just one little snippet of them talking about sight unseen offers. Okay, yeah, bro. Yeah. Brian's question or comment was, they're not addressing coming soon versus an office exclusive versus we're all dealing with that on top of this. So yeah, there are multiple layers here. It's not easy, and we're all trying to figure it out together, including me. And you guys do a heck of a job educating me on a daily basis. So anyway, I know, I'm hoping everybody looked around the room here when I said raise your hand, and the majority of people in this room have dealt with it already. So if you haven't, it's coming. It's coming. Now, before I get to the last slide, I brought a prop with me this morning. I walked into the room and everybody looked at me like I was out of my mind. And for those of you on Zoom, it's a plant. It's a plant that's in my office. If you've been in my office, you've probably seen it's over near the window. And the reason why I brought this here today is at the beginning of the pandemic, when we shut down literally overnight, this plant was on my stand next to the window, okay? And didn't get water for 90 days. 90 days. I know. I wasn't allowed in the building myself. So for 90 days, it didn't get water. Now, you don't see it unless you lift up the leaves here. Look what happened to the trunk or the trunks. They all went toward the sun, trying anything they could do to survive. And I was shocked when I got back to the office and started watering this thing. I'm thinking, why am I wasting water on this thing? But you wouldn't know it today. I mean, this thing is like, and I kind of related to you guys and what you went through. Literally, you were shut down for how long? A long period of time trying to get through this pandemic. You looked a little bent, like the plant, but you've all come back really nice. And it's great to see you again. Here's my little piece of, do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is not a path and leave a trail. So everybody have a great day. And once again, it's great to see everybody. Thanks for being on Zoom today. Yep. And no, you can't have my plant.
Thank you.
Thank you.